98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR and GorgeRadio.com presents the Mid-Columbia Today Show with Mark Bailey. Special thanks to our sponsors, Skyline Hospital and Del Carpine Automotive. Now, here's Mark Bailey.
Good morning. It is 8:04. It is a Friday morning, the 28th of August. We thank you for joining us today. I'm Mark Bailey. Cameron Eisenberg is producing. As we join you, that's if we're live. If you are listening to us on our podcast, I have no idea what time it is. It could be Sunday at 2:30 in the afternoon, for all I know. But today's show will hold some time a little bit here because we're going to talk gardening today. Eric Bosler's here from the Central Gorge Master Gardeners. Actually, he'll be on the phone. He's not actually here, but in spirit, certainly. And we'll talk about all sorts of things. I guess fall's the best time to plant trees and shrubs, so we should be thinking about that. And we'll talk about a pest that has been discovered in Vancouver. I saw this while I was actually in Vancouver last weekend, in the Vancouver Columbian. And the emerald ash borer is not a good thing, so we'll talk about that a little bit. And there's a few things going on for the Master Gardeners. We'll just kind of meander. And also, the garden tour is coming up. We should mention that. In fact, we'll get quite a bit into that. First, though, here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about what this day has meant and what it means, at least to some people. This day in 1845, the first issue of Scientific American magazine was published. It remains the oldest continuously published magazine in the United States. I'm going to admit, I still have the habit because I got this as a kid. Go to a grocery store. Always go to the magazine aisle. It's much smaller than it used to be. I remember when Rosar's, where I go to shop, here in Hood River, I remember when the magazine, it was a huge wall-to-wall, and it had everything. This is one of these things, I know we're in the digital age, times change, but that's one of the things that saddens me is it's much smaller now, much smaller. And the prices have gone up too, by the way. 1862, the Second Battle of Bull Run began in Prince William County, Virginia during the Civil War. The Union Army retreated. See if I can read here. 2 days later, after suffering 14,000 casualties. 1898, pharmacist Caleb Bradham of New Bern, North Carolina, changed the name of the carbonated beverage he created 5 years earlier from Brad's Drink to Pepsi Cola. I did not know it was originally Brad's Drink. 1955, Emmett Till, a black teenager from Chicago, was abducted from his uncle's home in Money, Mississippi by two white men after he had allegedly whistled at a white woman 4 days prior. He was found brutally slain 3 days later. 1957, Senator Strom Thurmond of South Carolina set a new mark for the longest-speaking filibuster in Senate history, 24 hours and 18 minutes, seeking to stall the passage of the Civil Rights Act of that year. Now, New Jersey Senator Cory Booker set the record now back in 2025 for the longest continuous Senate floor speech of 25 hours and 5 minutes. This day in 1963, during the March on Washington, the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his I Have a Dream speech before an estimated 250,000 people in front of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. 1968, police and anti-war demonstrators clashed in the streets of Chicago as the Democratic National Convention nominated Hubert H. Humphrey for president. 1988, 70 people were killed when 3 Italian Air Force stunt planes collided during an air show at the U.S. Air Base in Ramstein, West Germany. And in 2013, a military jury sentenced Major Natal Hassan to death for the 2009 shooting rampage at Fort Hood. I'm used to saying Mount Hood, so I apologize there. That claimed 13 lives and left 30 people injured. Here's our days for today. It is Crackers Over the Keyboard Day today. This refers to eating while you're on the computer, which, by the way, it's not that great an idea to crumble your crackers over the keyboard. It is Forgive Your Foe Friday. Forgive somebody that you've been at odds with. It's International Read Comics in Public Day today. I'm not sure why you couldn't read comics in public every day, but there you go. It's National Bow Tie Day today. We salute the bow tie. It's a fashion choice. National Power Rangers Day. They're still around, aren't they? I assume so. Cameron's nodding his head, yes. I think about the 80s is when they really started to be a thing, if you will. And they were a thing, by the way. There was a point where they were... I don't know whether they came first or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or it was a kind of parallel, but both those became really huge. It's National Thoughtful Day. It's a day to be thoughtful, which you should be every day. In fact, it was Thoughtful Thursday, remember, yesterday, so we're going to pound that into you, apparently. It's Race Your Mouse Around the Icons Day. This refers to a day when the internet was much slower, namely the time when I was told when my wife and I bought our first PC back in, I think it was 1995 or so, 96. Oh, a 56K modem, that's as fast as you're ever going to need. Sure. Of course, we also thought America Online was a good idea also, so, times change. Also today, and this is key for our industry, folks, it's Radio Commercial Day today. I thought about just doing an hour of all commercials, but I decided that might be overkill. As a salute. But the radio commercial. One of the reasons why they're so great, a great radio commercial engages your mind and creates an image. So contact our Jonathan Ross to have your ad done today. 541-296-2211. I just tied that into it. Just a lovely little self-promotion. Food and drink today. It's Red Wine Day today. So celebrate responsibly. And admittedly, my mind immediately went to a song a number of years ago by, I think it was UB40 was the group. Red, Red Wine. And if you're of my age, this is before you. And it wasn't a great enough song, by the way, for it to be played over and over again on classic hits, etc. But it was all. But it had play. It was all right. Kind of went. And I forget. Other than Red, Red Wine, I can't remember anything else about it. So I just passed an earbug along to a lot of people, especially if they're around my age. For food snacks today, it's National Cherry Turnovers Day today. A good warm turnover is always kind of nice in the morning. Get you going. But there it is for what it's worth. Actually, because it's radio commercials, it is worth a whole lot. Because it's Radio Commercial Day. 8:12 in the morning. Speaking of, we'll be back after this.
Have an idea for a one-of-a-kind piece of jewelry? Or maybe you have a special piece you'd love to update. At J.D. Smith Jewelers, our designers create custom jewelry made just for you. From stunning engagement rings and meaningful pendants to beautiful heirloom redesigns. Bring in a sketch, a photo, an inspiration, or simply the vibe you're going for. We'll work with you to turn your vision into a piece that's uniquely yours and built to last with quality craftsmanship. Ready to create something special? Visit J.D. Smith Jewelers, 121 East 2nd Street, downtown The Dalles, and start your custom design today.
Mid-Columbia Today is a public affairs program of Bicoastal Media Columbia River, 98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR and GorgeRadio.com. Now, back to Mark Bailey.
And we are back as it is now. 8:14 in the morning. We have now with us on the telephone from the Central Gorge Master Gardeners, it is Eric Bosler. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Mark. How are you this morning?
Oh, not bad. How are you doing today?
Oh, fine. Radio Commercial Day.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Yes, it is. It's Radio Commercial Day. That's kind of important to us, That.
Yeah, well, it pays the bills, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're trying to anyway. But again, I am though serious about the best ones. And this is anything in radio, is something that pictures something in the listener's mind when you can engage that. And it's something that I don't think video can do. Video, you're presented it and you don't really get an option. In radio, you hear something and it engages your mind into a picture that you have uniquely, and I think it engages you more.
Well, I would agree.
But there you go. So there's my pitch for radio right there. And
paint those word pictures.
And audio in general. I'll throw it in there, audio, because I know, radio is a tool. Audio is more the concept here, and there are different now tools to do audio on that we do as well, like the podcast on this show. But anyway, I digress, and we are going to talk gardens here. And actually, I thought I would start out with, because I saw this in the Columbian when I was in Vancouver last week, and the emerald ash borer, and I've talked about this on the news some because it comes up. It just seems like this little pest, and I say little. It's a real concern to people who have forest lands in particular. But this pest is kind of creeping this way.
Well, it's a little pest. It's not very big, but like you say, it has had some tremendous impacts. It has had a huge impact in the eastern United States and in North America in general, and wiped out huge populations of ash trees. And it's certainly one of those things that we hope we wouldn't get into the Northwest, but it's gotten pretty endemic in the North Willamette Valley, and now it's trying to get a foothold in Vancouver, and they're working really hard at trying to keep it out. But it's a struggle.
And this is something that, folks, especially at Mid-Columbia Agricultural Research and Extension Center, but folks at Oregon State University, Washington State University, our other ag schools, I mean, this is a constant battle. It's not just the emerald ash borer. We're so mobile as a society now and able to move goods around and ourselves around at high rates of speed over long distances. And it really does lead to some of these pests getting to places that they were never supposed to end up in. And we all there. Every place has some pests, but the invasive pest brings another layer of problem.
Well, it certainly does. And this area, I can remember. We're relatively new, having moved from the Portland area, but terms like the brown marmorated stink bug or spotted winged Drosophila just were not in the vocabulary that we as master gardeners talked about years ago when I first got involved in the Master Gardener program. But now, they're something we talk about constantly, particularly with our agricultural interest in the area.
And this is why also, this isn't necessarily an invasive pest issue, but why our orchardists in the area, and there was quite a push for a long time, and I imagine they still encourage this, but there was a big push. People would have backyard fruit trees, but they really didn't know how to maintain them properly, and it would become basically a host for pests that could then get into our orchards, and then we get economic problems from them. And that's why it's always been kind of a push of our orchardist folks about, if you can't take care of a backyard fruit tree properly, please remove it.
No, you're absolutely right. It is a constant, ongoing conversation that we have as master gardeners, both in our training and in our outreach into the community, because many of the master gardeners are involved in one way or another with the orchard industry in the area, and we're very, very sensitive to the tremendous amount of risks that are involved, and the difficulty that just a few uncared for trees, whether they're cherry trees or pear trees or other hosts like common hosts to apples and that sort of a thing. It's a constant topic, and it's something that we have to pay real particular attention to. And that kind of leads into one of the things that we're focused on a lot, and that's that tree of heaven issue that we're struggling with here to try to reduce the prevalence of that tree, which is actually it's a pretty tree, but it's a huge risk because of it's the preferred alternate host for the brown marmorated stink bug, which we already have, and it's also the preferred host for the spotted lanternfly, which we are hoping that we can can forestall its invasion of the Northwest. It's huge impact on the East Coast.
You mentioned Tree of Heaven because there used to be one on this property here, one of those, and a few years ago, the company had it removed happily. The thing, if I remember right, I had someone, I think it's Underwood Conservation District. I think they're still making a big push on the Washington side of the river to get rid of those. I think it was, they said, I guess they were introduced to here. They were native to the South, if I remember right, southern part of this country, and it was like somebody in the Department of Transportation, like in the 1920s, in Washington, I believe it was, maybe it was Oregon, but either way, thought it was a nice tree and started planting them here along roadsides, and they became, and they truly sprout like a weed, by the way. If they start dropping their seedlings, I remember after we cut this thing down, we were yanking shoots out of the front of this place for a good 2 years. Beyond being also a host to invasive pests, it's also it's invasive to your whole property, just the plant itself.
Well, it is because the seeds get dispersed by the wind, and that's an issue. But it's also a sucker reproducer. So if you don't get all the roots out, or you don't stay on top of it long enough to have the roots die away, it'll sprout up just almost as bad as poison oak or bindweed.
Well, I remember, pulling one of those shoots out and smelling my hand, and my hand smelled awful afterwards. I mean, whoever this guy was 100 years ago thought this was a good idea. I would like to have a chance to have a word with him, because it wasn't a good idea. In fact, it was a terrible idea. Now we know.
I couldn't. Yeah.
Now we with the invasive pests that we now know they host. I mean, it's even worse now. I mean, it's just so, yeah. But if you've got one of these, describe what it looks like. I see some people, if they have a large amount of property, there may be one on their property and they don't realize it's a tree of heaven.
Well, yeah, it sometimes gets confused with staghorn. Doggone it. Sorry about that. Just search it. It'll pop up. Believe me. If you type in Tree of Heaven, you're going to get all kinds of pictures. It's ferny. It's got opposite leaves that run out long stems. The stems are red. The seed pods come in a big bunch. And they start out yellow, and they kind of turn to a kind of a rusty color when they get ripe and are ready to go. And my master gardener consultant over here pointed to sumac. So anyway, so that it's pretty easy to identify once you've seen a picture of it, or somebody's pointed it out for you. You won't mistake it. And that smell that you talked about on your hand sometimes is referred to as a rancid peanut butter. And that's a pretty good description of it. It's a rotten-smelling plant.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of trees, though, the plant clinics for the Central Gorge Master Gardeners, a lot of the inquiry right now, it appears, is involving evergreen trees, and I'm not surprised that they are being stressed right now in our current conditions. Yeah,
we're in that extended drought. We didn't get anywhere near the spring precipitation that we typically have. Obviously, last winter we didn't get virtually any snow at all at our elevations. In fact, in all elevations. And so even the deep-rooted conifers are pretty much stressed. I'm looking out at some that are showing a lot of brown needle and a lot of drop, that more than we usually see.
Mm-hmm. So, what are some of the options people have? I mean, can you give enough water to a tree like this to be able to help it out?
Well, I guess you can. Well, I don't guess you certainly can, but a mature Doug fir, they evaporate a huge amount of water on a daily basis, just in their natural evaporative growth habit, and I don't know that short of a real serious ongoing irrigation project, you can do that. I mean, when you consider the amount of water that we have to put on our fruit trees and our producing orchards, getting out there and trying to do something for anything other than an occasional tree or two in your yard, I don't know that you can have that much of an impact. I've got a little stand of seven actually, ponderosas right along the edge of our property, and they're not too far from our drain field. So they're in pretty good condition because I know that those roots have found their way across and are tapping the moisture that goes through our drain field. So they look pretty healthy. The ones across the street, on the other hand, don't look so good.
I mentioned the water part, but are there other steps people can take, or with evergreen trees? I mean, I grew up in the Willamette Valley. Evergreen trees were called evergreen trees for a reason. They stayed green. they were okay. What are symptoms of the stress? I think browning needles, isn't that a big part of it?
Yep, that's the most obvious part of it, and you won't find all of the needles are brown. They are selectively browning on their older needles. I've always laughed at the evergreen piece, because if you've lived with the mature ponderosas or Doug firs, you know that they shed about a third of their needles normally on an annual basis, and it's a bit of a task to keep up after them. I laugh also because I understand that in the East Coast they bale up ponderosa needles and call it, pine straw, and they actually sell it. In which case, I wish that I had an avenue for selling pine straw, because I've got a bunch.
I was going to say, I mean, we're missing something here in Oregon's economic stack. I mean, if people want to buy those things to that extent, we ought to be importing them in. Exporting them. We don't need any more. Exporting them out. We don't need to import them in. I mean, I'm telling you, we need to get people buying this stuff. Then, what do they use it for? I mean, I think of just a mulch.
Yeah, it'll be used for mulch and kind of those things.
Well, we're hitting the bottom of the hour here, so I think we'll take the news break here. When we come back and talk about the garden tour that's coming up in a couple of weeks, the Hood River Front Garden Tour, and looks like to me it's kind of focused on the area where I'm emanating this show from and talking to you from, on the west side of Hood River, on the Heights. We'll talk about also, fall is the best time to plant trees and shrubs, and there are some classes about that coming up as well. So all that, we'll get back with Eric Bosler here in a few minutes. It is 8:29 in the morning. News is next.
It's time to clear out those hazardous materials from your home, garage, and shop. Tri-County Hazardous Waste and Recycling Program is holding a free hazardous waste collection event for households and small businesses on Saturday, September 5th at Mid-Valley Market in Odell from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Bring your fluorescent bulbs, garden pesticides and fertilizers, fuels, TVs and computer, and much more. Small businesses must pre-register by 4 p.m. on Thursday, August 27th. Visit tricountyrecycle.com or call 541-506-2529.
Oregon, the next big election is November 3rd. Are you ready? It's time to make a plan to vote early. Your ballot will arrive by mail. The best way to return it is to use a secure drop box near you. If you want to mail your ballot back, send it at least 1 week before Election Day. Track your ballot, find drop boxes, and more at OregonVotes.gov. You have the power to decide Oregon's future. Vote. Sponsored by Oregon Secretary of State Tobias Reed, the Oregon Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Coffee for Mid-Columbia Today guests is provided by Hood River Coffee Roasters, the gorgeous local coffee roasters, on Tucker Road on the Heights in Hood River.
8:32 in the morning, checking out the news. A major transportation project in Bingen now functionally complete, connecting Highway 14, Bingen Point, and the Port of Klickitat. The Washington State Department of Transportation marked the milestone yesterday with a ribbon-cutting ceremony attended by city and port officials, BNSF Railway representatives, and elected leaders. The $34.3 million project was nearly 12 years in the making and took about a year to build. The centerpiece is now a new road underpass beneath the BNSF railroad tracks. Juniper Street now connects Highway 14 and Steuben Street with Bingen Point and the Port of Klickitat, eliminating the need for drivers to cross the tracks. Previously, passing trains could block the crossing for several minutes, backing traffic onto Highway 14 and delaying freight and emergency responders. The project also includes a new roundabout at Highway 14 and Elm Street, designed to improve safety and traffic flow. At the center of the roundabout is a historic pond boat used once to move logs near local mills, highlighting the region's timber heritage. The filing deadline for municipal elections has passed. No contested seats in Hood River. Current Councilor Gladys Rivera, the only candidate for mayor, as Paul Blackburn did not seek re-election. And there are 3 candidates for 3 council positions, including incumbents Ben Mitchell and Doug Stepina, along with Kate Huffman. Grant Polson is not looking for a second term. In the Dalles, 2 contested races, including a 3-way race for mayor to succeed Rich Mays. There will be current City Councilor Tim McLaughlin, former Councilor Darcy Long, and Joseph Slusher as the 3 candidates. 2 people are seeking to replace McLaughlin in Council Position 1, Tristan Shepard and Kim Morgan. Incumbent Scott Randall is lone candidate for Position 3. There will be no contested candidates in Hood River. In Hood River once again. Cascade Locks incumbent Mayor Brenda Wood being challenged by Ashley Watinia. And there are 5 city council hopefuls: Brian High, Courtney Kelman, Jaime Rivera, Miranda Odrich, and Sherelle Price. Grasshopper fire officials say firefighters accomplished strategic objectives from the air and on the ground. That after there was more aggressive fire behavior on Wednesday as winds gusted up to 25 miles per hour. Great Basin Incident Management Team 4 Operations Section Chief Kevin Norton says the northwest and southwest corners remain the focus of their work. Fire camp in Tye Valley moved to Mount Hood Meadows, putting firefighters closer to the most active areas. Containment still 76%. Oregon transportation officials are compiling a list of potential taxes and fees lawmakers could consider to address a major transportation funding shortfall next year. The preliminary analysis includes dozens of options, including higher or new taxes on tires, rideshare trips, cell phone bills, and wine sales. Some of the proposals have been unpopular with Oregon voters in the past. The Oregonian Oregon Live obtained the analysis, which provides a look at the revenue options lawmakers could consider when they return to Salem in January. ODOT says the analysis is still being developed and is meant to give lawmakers and the governor a range of options, not recommend specific tax increases. Current temperatures at this time, we can tell you that in Hood River it is 61, in Stevenson 59, and the Dalles 62. It is 8:35 in the morning.
Hey, it's Zach from Del Carpine Automotive. You know those tall Sprinter vans that look like they could secretly double as apartments? Yeah, we work on those, and we know them really well. Whether it's your adventure rig, work van, or mystery mobile full of camping gear and snacks from 2022, we've got you covered. We're now just 10 minutes up the hill in our great new location in Hood River. Come see us. From Mercedes and Ford, big rigs to Sprinters, no jobs too big or small. At Del Carpine, we work on them all. Family owned and locally trusted.
Mid-Columbia Today is a public affairs program of Bicoastal Media, Columbia River, 98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR and GorgeRadio.com. Now, back to Mark Bailey.
And we're back. Eric Bosler, Central Gorge Master Gardener, is with us this morning at 8:37 in the AM. And we're going to talk a little bit here now about Hood River Garden Tour 2026 is coming up 9-1 September 12th. And Eric, it looks like the focus this year of the garden tour is out on in this area where I'm talking to you from. It's on the west part of the city of Hood River.
That's correct. It's going to be kind of fun. This is a repeat of a garden tour format that we started in conjunction with some of the other people at the Extension office and the community, and it's really been very successful. so this year it is focused on the west side of Hood River, and between May Street and Belmont Street, going east and west, and 22nd Street. I wonder who's on 22nd Street. And 16th, you can pretty well take in all of the gardens that are on the tour.
I will say the one on 22nd Street, by the way, is called the Garden of Borrowed Abundance, according to what I'm looking at here.
Yeah.
And there's another one called...
I've not had an opportunity to do a pre-visit on those gardens, but I think you're going to find they're very, very interesting ones.
Yeah, and there's one called the Rad-ish Garden. A lovely play on words there. There's Pollinator Pit Stop. There's a couple on Red Tail Loop, a couple on B Street over to the east of where I'm talking from, but also down on Prospect on Eugene Street and on 18th as well. So how can people take part in this? Because it's also called the Front Garden Tour this year, and there's a symbolic part of that as well.
Oh, I wasn't aware of.
Well, I believe they're all front gardens rather than backyard gardens.
Yeah. Oh no. Excuse me. Front garden. Yes. And that's been the nice thing about this format is that the property owners can certainly invite you in to look at more of their property if they wish, but the main focus is right there on the sidewalk or in the front of the property. So it's a real easy access.
It'll be September 12th, which is 2 Saturdays from now. From 9 to 1 is when this is going to take place, and you can actually get the map online.
That's right. I try to give out those long addresses, and it's just really, really easy. If you search Hood River Garden Tour 2026, or even just Hood River Garden Tour, it'll take you right to the extension website, and there's a link about 3 paragraphs down in the web page to the garden map, and you've got them all laid out for you with a map legend that describes the address and the name of each one of those gardens.
Mm-hmm. So again, this has been an annual event. There are printed maps though for those who prefer that as well. There's going to be available starting on Tuesday.
Correct.
And that will be at the Hood River County Extension Office, 2990 Experiment Station Drive. Also maps at each garden site on each day. And again, also you can, off the Facebook page for Central Gorge Master Gardeners, there is a link to the map, so you can get it there. But it's also, it's been designed where you can... You can do this. You have to have a car to do this. You can kind of make a stroll through the neighborhoods.
Yeah, it's not that far. It starts on the far west side at 30th Street, and then winds its way east and kind of in a loop around to include Belmont, and then down to Eugene Street at about 15th or so. So it's certainly a walkable one, certainly one if you're into riding the bike, and so it would make for a nice morning to get out and look at some of the garden features in Hood River.
We probably should note that there is the element of hills on there, so I will point that out to people. There is some climbing or walking downhill. What goes up must come down. So that'll be going on as well. But again, that's going to be on the 12th of September, 9 to 1. And one of the parts of this is people visit the gardens is people can learn some things as well. There's opportunities for education here.
Right. We've got each one of those sites will be staffed, and there'll be, I guess you call them a docent, at each one of the gardens to talk about it. Most of the property owners are also available at that time to talk about the specifics of their property, and of course, master gardeners to answer gardening questions in general.
Also, fall is the time for planting trees and shrubs, and there are some classes in mid-September by the master gardeners for people to attend. that will discuss this subject.
Right. Fall is kind of overlooked in as the planting time, but it is the best time to plant trees and shrubs because the temperature's moderated, so the demand on a new planted tree or a shrub is a lot less, and hopefully the Mother Nature provides us some irrigation in the form of the rain that is so badly needed. So a good time to think about doing those.
Mm-hmm. But
that planting.
Yeah, but you got propagation classes planned on September 19th from 10 to 11:30 at Hood River's OSU Extension Office on Experiment Station Drive, and on the 22nd, 6 to 7:30 in the evening at the Hood River Library. And when we say the propagation, what are we meaning by that?
Well, propagation is typically anything having to do with growing a new plant, whether you do it from seed or from cuttings or a variety of different ways, and there's a lot in that topic, and the class will deal with some of the alternatives to coming up with new plants for your garden.
And so to attend those classes, those are free drop-in classes, aren't they?
That's correct. Absolutely.
So all you got to do is show up, and actually there's another set of classes in October, and this is going to be on the marigold.
Yeah, it might be a kind of a fun one. The class is going to be all about marigolds, and it's kind of timely because it also ties in with a traditional flower that has been used by the Hispanic community in celebration of some of their festivals, including the Día de los Muertos. And don't ask me how to pronounce the word marigold in Spanish. I got it there, but I'm not going there. My Spanish isn't that good.
No, I'm going to leave that out because I wouldn't know if you were right anyway, if you told me.
Okay.
But
again, yeah, those marigold classes will be on October 10th at the Hood River Extension Office classroom out on Experiment Station Road, and on the 13th at the White Salmon Library this time.
So 10 to 11:30 October 10th and 6:30 to 8 October 13th at the White Salmon Library. Some other things kind of to touch on here. You still got plant clinics going. You're all over the place. I think you're actually going to be at El Grito, I think, in a couple weeks as well over in White Salmon.
Indeed, and that's always been a lot of fun. It's one that obviously it's in my backyard, so I get an opportunity not have to travel very far to do a plant clinic. And my wife and I really enjoy doing that one. A lot of community turnout, a lot of interaction with youngsters in that particular setting. So we get to talk about seeds and pollinators and all of those kinds of things, and it's really fun to talk with kids about those things.
Also, for those who would like to learn more about food preservation as they harvest some things, OSU Extension does have food preservation information available.
Yep. We just recently did a couple of preservation classes, but the information is generally available. Just reach out to the program. Lauren Michaels does the food preservation piece for Extension, and you can certainly get in touch with her. Lauren Kramer, excuse me, my associate across the way just reminded me. My apologies to Lauren on that.
So again, you check that out through OSU Extension, Hood River County. Before we get away here, you were also going to mention a little more. We talked about the top emerald ash borer, and you sent me a little message that there may be a little bit more on this that we could get to.
Okay, so and we talked about the stress and in the fir trees and not being able to do anything about it. The emerald ash borer two things to remember. One is it can be easily confused with a number of small green beetles that we've got in this area. So if you happen to run across a green beetle in your garden, identify it using the internet resources, and or reach out and Master Gardeners would be happy to help you with that. They're easily confused, but we don't want to pass up an opportunity to identify it if we've got it. And secondly, you mentioned what we could do with the conifers that are in stress. It is possible to inoculate an ash tree from the emerald ash borer. And it's not an easy thing to do, but certainly a professional arborist can help you with that. It's a case of identifying it and doing it before the too much of an infestation. So those people with special ash trees or relatives of ash trees in their landscaping might consider that if we find we're getting an infestation headed this way.
Inoculate. When I think inoculation, I think of getting a shot or a vaccination. Is that kind of what we're talking? Okay, I did not know you could do that with a tree.
Yeah, you can inoculate a tree, or there's also the ability, I understand, with the emerald ash borer of doing a soil drench and letting the roots take up the protecting agent. But yeah, you can give a tree a shot.
Really, I did not know that. That is something. That's something new for me. So I learned something on this show almost every day. I'm sure it is a big needle, bigger than I'd want to see. But nonetheless, so there you go. And a lot of tree things that there are some elements of trees, and I reached this point where you really are. You ought to consult with an arborist, somebody who does this for a living.
No, you're absolutely right. You know, we Master Gardeners love to share our knowledge and help people identify their issues and that sort of a thing. But when it comes to something like that, the best thing to do is to go to the pros. They're specialized tools, specialized products. They may be using a chemistry that only a professional applicator can utilize. So, best to go to the pros.
Central Gorge Master Gardeners, they have a web page, so you can learn more. Also, their Facebook page. You can get all the information we've talked about here this morning. And again, the Hood River Front Garden Tour is coming up in 2 weeks, 9 to 1 on the west side of Hood River. You can actually, I just Googled Hood River Garden Tour 2026. We're able to get to the map. You can download the map. And if you want a printed one, they'll have them starting on Tuesday at the OSU Extension office in Hood River. Eric Bosler has been our guest. Eric, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Mark, thank you very much. We always enjoy and we appreciate your support.
Glad to have you on the show. It is 8:51 in the morning on MCT. When we return, we'll begin to wrap things up after this.
You have a legacy to uphold and a whole lot of hay to cut. Kubota M-Series tractors and hay tools bring performance and reliability to your farm so you can build something bigger. Stop by today. Right now, get select Kubota equipment with 0% financing available or instant cash discount and 2-year extended orange protection now through September 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com/disclaimers for full disclaimer.
Sea Shepherds, 440 Riverside Drive, Hood River, your Kubota dealer. Coffee for Mid-Columbia Today guests is provided by Hood River Coffee Roasters, the Gorge's local coffee roasters, on Tucker Road on the Heights in Hood River.
It's 8:54 in the morning. Some things going on in the area. We can tell you that tomorrow at Hood River Farmers Market, it's Tomato Fest. All sorts of good tomatoes there. You can check it out from 9 to 1 at 501 Columbia Street in Hood River. In the Dalles, tomorrow at 4 at the Dalles Arts Center, it's the Hispanic Heritage Exhibit Festival. It's presented by the Dalles Arts Center and the Hood River Latino Network with live music, a taco contest, dancing horses, and some ballet as well. So all that is coming up tomorrow at 4 at the Dalles Arts Center. Celebrating Woody Guthrie's Columbia River Songs with Bill Merlin and Libby Burke. Song, Stories, and Sing-Along event on August 29th at 6 at the Dalles-Wasco County Library. And, of course, that is a free event. And on Monday, we will know Hood River Aquatic Center is going to be closed Monday through September 6th. It is maintenance time. They need to take a week to clean it up. And when it reopens, they'll go to their fall schedule, which will be available at hoodriverparksandrec.org. Also, International Overdose Awareness Day walk is Monday at 10 in the morning at a Lewis and Clark Festival Park in the Dalles. They also have some resources available. They're going to have kind of a little resource fair as well after the walk until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's sponsored by Youth Think and Eastern Oregon Center for Independent Living in the Dalles. 8:56, one more break. We'll take it, and we'll come back and wrap things up after this.
Did you know Skyline Health in White Salmon has its very own sports medicine doc superstar? That's right, Dr. Ryan Petering, trained at OHSU, cared for professional Nike athletes, and even spent more than 15 years teaching other doctors how it's done. From sporting injuries to arthritis, he's here to help you move better, feel stronger, and keep doing the things you love. Want to live life to its fullest? Step right up and visit myskylinehealth.org. Skyline Health, world-class care right here at home.
Tune in weekday mornings at 8:05 and keep up with community events and issues with the Mid-Columbia Today Show on Mid-Columbia's news leaders, 98.3 FM and 1340 AM KIHR. Special thanks to our sponsors, Skyline Hospital and Del Carpine Automotive.
I did get a link here. Eric sent me a link. It's chemjettreeinjector.com. If you're wondering, like me, you were surprised that, you can inoculate a tree, and it's got a page here of how this works. It's not like there's one big shot you're giving it. It looks like you use a number of these syringes into the tree, down at the lower level of the tree. I'm just taking a quick little look at it. But anyway, you can check that out. Before we get away, what's coming up next week on the show? It is a busy week on the show. Monday, Jaime Rivera, Hood River Valley Parks and Recreation District is going to be here, and Jaime will talk about their fall program events that are going on. Then Marianne Durkin from Fish Food Bank, and we'll talk about the demand they're seeing right now and the needs they have. It's an ongoing and seemingly ever-increasing need at the food banks in our area. Tuesday, Cindy Thiemann, Hood River Watershed Group, will be here. Understand from their newsletter, East Fork of the Hood River, way, way down. I mean, close to historic lows, river flows there. So I'm sure we'll talk about that a bit. And then we will have with us, going back to Hood River Parks and Recreation, we will be joined by Mark Hickox and Christy Christopher. We're going to talk about two things, it turns out. One of which is we're going to get an update on the swimming pool process, the replacement pool. One of the questions I get a lot from people is when will the pool be closed for the construction of a new one? We'll ask that question. I don't think they know yet, but I'm certainly going to ask the question of them. And then we're going to talk about Indian Creek Trail. There's an announcement coming up about the Indian Creek Trail and trying to get that fully connected. So we'll do that on Tuesday on the show. That news, by the way, may come down today, however. On a Wednesday on the show, Stephanie Hatch from WAM, Western Antique Airplane and Automobile Museum. There we go. That's why we call it WHAM. Their fly-in is coming up on the 11th of September, and we'll talk to Stephanie about it on Wednesday. Plus, we'll talk about the Next Door on Wednesday. Thursday, we'll talk Huckleberry Festival. That's also the weekend of September 11th. That's going to be a busy weekend around here. Plus, we'll talk OSU Extension, and next Friday is Dr. Mike Foss here to talk animals to round out that week. But we are done. I am out of things to say. If I had anything else to say, I would have said it by now. For Cameron Eisenberg, we thank for producing. I'm Mark Bailey. We'll talk to you again on Monday.
Mid-Columbia Today Show is a public affairs presentation of Bicoastal Media Columbia River. The views expressed on the program are not necessarily those of the station, parent company, or of the sponsors. We welcome your suggestions for future shows. Call us at 541-386-1511. Listen to Mid-Columbia Today where you want. Follow or subscribe to Mid-Columbia Today wherever you download your podcast to get the show delivered every day to your mobile device.